One of the defining events of NFL is violence, and it's not good if a player intentionally tries to hurt another player. But each and every NFL team has gone through the pressure test of having that guy who just doesn't play fair. And with that being said, let's take a look at the 20 dirtiest players in NFL history. But before we jump in, make sure to like and subscribe if you love the NFL. Starting with number 20 is Deshaun Goldson. Some players, like Deshaun Goldson, just don't seem to learn from their mistakes. This guy was known for his dangerous hits on opponents, racking up a whopping 20 unnecessary rough penalties since 2009. But despite fines totaling over $190,000 in 2013 alone, he didn't change his ways. And finally, he was suspended for his actions. But his hit on Darren Sproles is still a memorable moment. And number 19 is Bernard Pollard. Now, you can say whatever you want about Bernard Pollard, but he almost ruined the career of one of the greatest NFL quarterbacks ever. In 2008, he took out Tom Brady's knee with a reckless hit, which would never be okay in any level of football. And the list didn't end there. Bernard kept making dirty plays throughout his career, like a helmet-to-helmet hit on Stevan Ridley that knocked him out cold. And that's the reason that he ended up getting fined and penalized multiple times with 4 different teams over 9 seasons. And number 18 is Charles Martin. Charles Martin's NFL career can be summed up by one dirty move that turned out to be iconic. This happened when he was playing for the Green Bay Packers in 1986 and decided to body slam Jake McMahon. But Martin is not just remembered for that one dirty move. He had a history of being violent, and that makes him one of the worst NFL athletes. And number 17 is Mark Schlereth. Now, this might be a hot take, but I think that Mark Schlereth would have become a 3-time Super Bowl winner if he wasn't interested in doing some crazy things. As a matter of fact, you can make a solid argument that Mark was probably the dirtiest player that the NFL has ever had. He was known to urinate on himself during games on purpose to make things tougher for his opponents. Of course, he got his karma as he admitted having 15 knee surgeries, which he underwent with an attitude of a receiving end recipient. And number 16 is Warren Sapp. Warren Sapp is still considered one of the greats, despite a bit of dirty on the field. In one instance, he blindsided Green Bay Packers offensive lineman Chad Clifton. It happened after an interception when Clifton was walking away from the play and Warren struck him. Clifton ended up in the hospital for a week and couldn't walk without help for 5 weeks. And number 15 is Sean Merriman. Sean Merriman was another tough defender who came up with the popular Lights Out nickname and celebration. But not all of his skills were natural. In 2006, he got suspended for breaking the NFL's drug policy. Because of his action, a new rule was made that said that any player caught using steroids couldn't be chosen for the Pro Bowl or get any performance-based awards that year. And number 14 is Albert Haynesworth. The ex-defensive lineman was famous for employing the most deceptive trickery in order to get the upper hand on his fellow players. Probably the most memorable instance happened when he was at the Tennessee Titans. He did that with the intention of stepping on one of the Dallas Cowboy players' unprotected head with his cleats. It was a nauseating manifestation of an inhumane behavior, and probably not the only one in his sports career. And number 13 is Roy Williams. Now, Williams had a short career due to his aggressive style of play, but he was known for his horse collar tackles, which were later banned by the NFL. Williams put off one of the wildest plays ever seen in college football during the 2001 Red-Silver Shootout. He jumped over a Texas player to make an interception and secure the win for Oklahoma. Young players should be grateful that they don't have to witness players getting taken down with dangerous tackles like the horse collar. And number 12 is Brandon Merriweather. Brandon didn't care about other players at all. In 2010, he got fined $50,000 for smacking Todd Heap's helmet, and then he got fined another $20,000 for doing the same thing to Steve Smith. Later on, when Brandon joined the Washington Redskins, he got suspended for 2 games because he made illegal hits on Marshall and Ashlyn Jeffrey from the Chicago Bears. And number 11 is James Harrison. James Harrison was voted as the most violent and dangerous player in the league poll organized by NFL players. James was mostly known for his so-called helmet-to-helmet hits, which the league presently frowns at. From 2010 to 2015, his pocket was suffered with $150,000 in penalties primarily for these kind of hits. But once the league started to implement heavy fines for concussion-inflicting hits, Harrison had to abandon his negative approach to headhunting. And number 10 is Cortland Finnegan. There are many examples of Cortland Finnegan demonstrating his peculiar talents for taunting the opposition, and this one is my favorite one. In 2010, his never-ending fight with Andre Johnson of the Houston Texans hit an all-time low when Johnson, normally shy and calm, couldn't take it anymore and got into a fight with Cortland simply because the latter was doing his best to provoke him. Now, what happened that day was an event that I will never forget. 2 NFL players fighting for the first time without their helmets. And number 9 is Jalen Ramsey. The Jaguars traded Ramsey to the Los Angeles Rams in 2019, cutting short his chances to be remembered as the greatest Jaguar ever. But being known as the dirtiest player in franchise history isn't a bad idea, to be honest. Just like any other physical and aggressive corner, Jalen Ramsey made plenty of enemies with his style of play. I mean, who could forget his fiery clash with AJ Green in a 2017 game where they even threw punches afterwards? Number 8 is Aqib Talib. Right in front of the cameras for everyone to see, Aqib Talib tore Crabtree's golden chain off his neck and proudly walked off the field with no remorse of the damage he caused. In the next game, the two confronted each other in the first quarter, and Talib attacked Crabtree again, this time pinning his other neck chain to his hand. Unfortunately, several of his worst moments were alongside Steve Smith, which seemed extremely disturbing to watch, and that's part of the reason why he ended up on this list. And number 7 is Jack Tatum. When your nickname is The Assassin, you can't be so shocked to find yourself in a list like this. Jack Tatum endorsed the moniker he received by tearing people apart on the field. Well, I'm referring to the tackle of Darryl Stingley, of course. The wide receiver was permanently disabled after getting hit by Jack, and he had to spend the rest of his life in a wheelchair until he passed away in 2007. Tatum obviously felt sorry for this situation, but he never demanded forgiveness for how he played in the National Football League. And number 6 is Hines Ward. This dude was known for his crackback blocks, where he liked making a strong hit to his opponents. Hines used to focus on his rival's head, while planning to do more than regular tackles. During his match against a rookie quarterback, he broke his jaw and halted his entire season. After this incident, the NFL was forced to introduce the Hines Ward rule, which made it illegal to use your head, shoulder, or forearm to make contact with an opponent's body during a blindside crackback block. And number 5 is Ndamukong Suh. From his early days in the league with the Lions, Ndamukong Suh was known for getting closer to the quarterback. The only issue was that he couldn't seem to stop after the whistle blew. However, quarterbacks were not his only targets. He had kicked the helmet off at Alfred Morris and stopped on Evan Dietrich Smith. In 2014, he received the largest fine for an on-field play after he stepped on Aaron Rodgers' leg. At number 4, we have Richie Incognito. Dubbed as one of the worst NFL players ever, Richie lived up to its name. In 2008, he got fined $35,000 for 3 different offenses against the Redskins. He abused an official, did a chop block, and committed a major face mask penalty. But the worst thing that he did was in 2014, when he took shots at his former teammate Jonathan Martin, who was disturbed by Richie's racially motivated rant and considered taking his life away. I mean, it makes sense why they all called him an utter scumbag. At number 3, we have Bill Romanowski. Bill Romanowski was an aggressive guy. He talked about all those dirty tactics and got into a bunch of crazy incidents, like fighting with his own teammates and scaring the crap out of his opponents. And surprisingly, he was even using steroids. In his old interview, he admitted to using human growth hormone to enhance his performance. After retiring from the sport, he even had some legal troubles and furthermore got accused of being a racist. At number 2, we have Vontaze Burfict. Burfict was suspended 22 times during his career for 14 different incidents and had to pay over $5.3 million in fines. Most of his scandals happened while playing against the Pittsburgh Steelers, as Burfict never hid his dislike for the rival team, which of course resulted in ugly actions. One of the most memorable incidents was when he made a brutal hit on wide receiver Antonio Brown. Many people have been led to believe that this particular incident had put a massive toll on Brown's mental health. And number 1 is Conrad Dobler. Vontaze Burfict is the official dirtiest player for many people, but that's a pity, as the true NFL fans know that Conrad Dobler was the real bad guy. He was termed Monster for his repeated violations of this rule. A couple of the most famous things that Dobler did were punching Mean Joe Green, kicking the head of Merlin Olsen, and spitting on injured Eagles linebacker Bill Bergee, who was going to be out of the game for the rest of his life. Recently, Dobler lost his life due to lung cancer in February of 2023, and we had to say goodbye to his twinkling eyes and sparkling mind. I mean, rest in peace, champ. But yeah, those were some crazy players. But what about crazy incidents? Well, be sure to check out this video to find the 22 weirdest moments in NFL history.